Welcome to Divine Connections. My name is Dolores Williams. I am your CEO of Divine Connections. And on today's show, we have Miss Marva Edwards. She is the author of Bound to Be Free. Welcome, Miss Marva.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm absolutely wonderful.
Good. Well, what I want to share with the individuals or the viewers today is tell them about your story, what you went through. I know you got married when you were a young age, and I want you to tell them the story of your marriage, what you went through, how it affected your children, and what you did to go through it.
Okay. Again, my name is Marva Edwards, and in any relationship, and that's whether it's domestic abuse is not always between a male and a female. It's not always between a husband and a wife. It's not always between a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and in same-sex relationships, it happens, but it also happens with children and their parents, or grandchildren and grandparents. And so what I would say, a red flag is a red flag.
Right.
And we know that red oftentimes symbols or cautions us to stop. And I say for those of you who see red flags in your relationship, that you do exactly that you stop. You examine where you are, you examine who you are, you examine your worth, and you make some conscious decisions with a plan.
Right.
About how you're going to care for yourself and how you're going to proceed, because no one deserves to be violated, no one deserves to be abused, and no one deserves to be mistreated.
Right. What kind of faith did you have? Would you say your faith was small, you had strong faith when you was going through the situation?
I clearly, without hesitation, can say that my faith was incredibly strong.
Okay.
It really was. And aside from that, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Right.
I could not be sitting here today. So it was my faith that allowed me to maintain my sanity, first of all.
Right.
That I could maintain a right relationship with God, that I could not only help myself, but help my children through that process.
And did you have anybody that you could talk to while you was going through this process? Just somebody to sit down and talk that can hear you and give you some wisdom on what you was going through?
You'd probably be surprised to how I answer this question, but it is in total truth, as everything else has been. There were a couple, there was one leader that I spoke with, had no direct connections with the ministry that I was in at the time, that I did confide in. And actually we both sat down and spoke with him. And I didn't feel that he gave the strong words, the arm that he should have. No one can speak to a man or hold a man accountable like another man.
Right.
And although he spoke to both of us, I didn't feel that he was genuinely holding my ex-husband accountable for his actions.
Wow.
And maybe, and I'll give him the benefit of that. Perhaps he did the best that he thought he could. But what I later found out years later was that he had been abusive to his wife as well. And so perhaps that was the reason why he could not speak to the situation, such as was needed, for me. So I did reach out to a couple of people. There was no one that I was able to talk to consistently.
Wow.
And generally that's the case for a woman or a person who's in a domestic violence relationship.
As you go back and you think about it, did he have an abusive relationship and that's why he was the way he was, that you know of?
I don't know that he had a abusive relationship so far as an intimate relationship, but what I do know is that, and as I stated in my book, that he did deal with some abuse growing up as a child.
Okay.
And while that does not excuse the behavior for anyone, it does certainly help you to better understand why a person's actions are the way they are. But then there's also help for things that we've gone through, the challenges that we've had, and the traumas that we've faced. And so the important thing for him or anyone else would have been or would be is to get help, for what it is that you suffered,
right.
That you learn how to move past that.
Right. And did you talk about counseling or anything?
I mentioned counseling to him maybe a couple of times, and that was just certainly not something that he was open to, because his thought process was generally he wasn't going to have other folks in his business.
Right. So he was covering up.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring us up to date of where you are now. You went through domestic violence. You was married to a pastor, and of course that's probably hard to go through as a first lady and have kids before and after marriage. Where are you at now?
Now, I'm happy to say I've been remarried for 11 wonderful years.
Awesome.
I'm very happily married. My children are all adults. I am a domestic violence advocate here in North Carolina, and enjoying every single moment of the work that I do, and with great passion. Awesome. So I'm also pastoring now myself here in Greensboro.
Okay.
And so that's just a little bit about where I am and what I'm doing.
Okay. And if somebody's interested in finding out information, maybe they're going through a domestic violence situation, what resources do you know of or do you have that they can connect with?
There's an agency here, right here in Greensboro, that I do volunteer with periodically, and that is the Cherie Denise Jackson Foundation.
Okay.
Which is located on Martin Luther King Boulevard here in Greensboro. And there's also a website available, the North Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Violence. They have unlimited resources that they can share with the individual. And so I just advise anyone who finds themselves in a domestic abusive relationship to get that help. And then there's also the Family and Children Services of the Piedmont here in Greensboro as well.
Okay, awesome. And just tell them information, how they can contact you if they desire, if you have any questions for you.
Okay, you can certainly reach me via my website, and that is mom-ministries, MINISTRIES.com. You can reach me there. There's also a link to my email address. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to submit those to me.
Awesome. Now, let them know where they can find your book so they can read your story.
Absolutely. You can. This is my book, Bound to Be Free, subtitled Breaking Free from Domestic Violence. And it can be purchased online at Amazon.com, Borders.com. It can also be ordered through your local Barnes & Noble store. It's also available if you're in the Winston-Salem area. It's, it's available at Family Christian Store. It's also available at your local public library here in Greensboro and Winston-Salem. You can also purchase it via my website, and again, that's mom-ministries.com.
Okay, any last words of encouragement?
Absolutely. I just want to encourage anyone who may be in a domestic abusive relationship to get the help that you need and know that you're not alone.
Thank you for tuning in to Divine Connections. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.